You might think the choices we make every day are totally random. But what if I told you there's a science to it? Today, we're going to crack the code of consumer behavior. We're diving deep into the hidden forces that shape every single purchase we make. So let's just start with a really simple question.
Now really, think about it for a second. Why that one? Was it just the taste? The price? Maybe the cool packaging caught your eye? Or was there something else going on? That one little choice, well, that's the exact mystery we're here to solve today.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at the 3 big influencers from the world around us. Then, we're going to take a trip inside the shopper's mind itself. After that, we'll map out the actual 5-stage journey to making a purchase, and finally, we'll see how putting all these pieces together can lead to some seriously impressive success.
All right, first up, let's peel back the outer layers of choice. We're talking about the 3 major external forces that influence our buying habits, starting from the broadest and working our way in.
The biggest, most powerful layer has got to be our culture. These are the values we just soak up by being part of a society. Think about it. In many Western cultures, there's this huge emphasis on youth and being active. And that single cultural value drives massive markets for everything from workout clothes to anti-aging creams. These aren't just random individual choices. They are deeply ingrained cultural desires.
Now let's zoom in one layer. We've got our social world. We are all influenced by our reference groups. Our friends, our family, our colleagues. They show us new things, and their opinions, man, that creates some powerful social pressure. Marketers are always trying to find the opinion leaders in those groups because they know their choices will create a ripple effect. And you want to know the number one, most important buying organization in society? It's the family.
And finally, we get to the core, your personal factors. This is everything from your age and your job to how much money you have. But it's also about personality. We're constantly picking brands that reflect how we see ourselves. So someone who thinks of themselves as rugged and adventurous, well, they're almost magnetically drawn to a brand like Levi's, which projects that exact same personality.
Okay, so those are the big external forces pushing and pulling on us. But what's actually happening inside our heads? This is where things get really fascinating. We're talking about the psychology of a purchase.
See, inside our minds, there's this constant dance between 4 key processes. It all kicks off with our motivation, the reason we need to act. But that motivation is filtered through our own unique perception of the world. Then, we learn from whatever happens. And finally, it all gets packed away into our memory, just waiting to influence the very next choice we make.
A fantastic way to get a handle on motivation is Maslow's famous hierarchy. The idea is pretty simple. We take care of our basic needs first, like food and safety, long before we start worrying about higher-level stuff like self-esteem. So if you're a marketer, the million-dollar question is, where on this pyramid does my product fit? Am I selling shelter or am I selling status?
Now, Herzberg's theory adds another really cool layer to this. He basically said there's a huge difference between things that make you unhappy if they're missing, he called those dissatisfiers, like say your new computer not having a warranty, and things that actively make you happy, the satisfiers, like that same computer being incredibly simple to use. Great marketing isn't just about avoiding bad stuff, it's about delivering genuine delight.
This next idea, honestly, this is one of the most important concepts in all of marketing. For any consumer, their perception is the reality, plain and simple. Our decisions are based entirely on what we perceive to be true, not necessarily what is objectively real.
Think about it. We get hit with something like 1,500 ads a day. There's no way we can process all of that. So our brain uses these incredibly powerful filters. First, selective attention lets us just ignore almost everything. Then, for the few messages that get through, selective distortion kind of twists them to fit what we already believe. And finally, selective retention makes us remember all the good things about brands we already like and conveniently forget the good stuff about their competitors.
And all of this leads directly to learning and memory. When you have a great experience with a product, you learn to choose it again. And our memory, it works just like a web. A brand like Godiva is a central node, and all the things you connect to it, like luxury, chocolate, maybe a special treat, those are the links. The entire job of a great marketer is to build a strong, positive web of these associations in your memory.
Okay, so now we get the external influences and the internal psychology. Let's put it all together and actually walk the path that every single consumer takes on their way to a purchase.
Most of the time,
Whether we even realize it or not, we go through 5 pretty distinct stages every time we buy something.
So the journey starts with a trigger, that moment you recognize a problem or a need. From there, you search for info and weigh your options. But here's the thing, the actual purchase is just one step in the middle. Because what happens after the purchase, whether we're happy or disappointed, that's what really determines if a brand succeeds in the long run and if we ever decide to come back.
All right, the theory's great and all, but let's see what happens when someone actually cracks this code out in the real world.
So let's imagine a woman named Sarah. She starts an online store called Crafted Creations, selling her handmade jewelry. And sales were okay, but she felt like something was missing. She knew what people were buying, but she had no idea why.
So she went on a mission. She started surveying her customers, reading forums, really digging in. And she had a breakthrough. She discovered her customers weren't just buying an accessory. They were buying self-expression. That's a huge personal factor. And she also realized they were super influenced by their reference groups, like trusted crafting bloggers and online communities.
And that insight? It was a total game changer. Armed with this new understanding, Sarah changed everything. She started a blog to tell the stories behind her pieces. She reached out and sent jewelry to those influential bloggers, the opinion leaders, and her marketing completely shifted. She stopped talking about the type of metal and started talking about that one-of-a-kind feeling of wearing something no one else has.
And the result? Well, sales exploded. By taking the time to really understand the why behind the buy, the cultural, social, and personal forces at play, Sarah built a genuine connection with her customers and turned her passion project into a thriving business.
So, when you boil it all down, what's the code? Well, it's that our behavior is this incredible mix of those outer layers: culture, society, and our own personal lives. But the real magic, the secret sauce, that happens inside our minds, that dance between motivation, perception, and memory. And that's why it doesn't matter if you're a giant corporation or a small shop like Sarah's. Understanding your customer is, without a doubt, the single most important investment you can ever make.
So now you have the tools. You can see the hidden forces behind your own choices and the choices of everyone around you. The next time you grab that cup of coffee or buy anything at all, just take a second. Ask yourself, why this one? I think you'll be pretty surprised by what you find.